6, 7 years later, I saved $150,000, all from just that slow grind.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
yeah, it was,
That's
it,
awesome, man.
at the time, it just felt like, well, this is what you do. Now looking back on it, it does sound a lot sexier and romantic than it was at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm curious. I feel like at this juncture in the conversation, I want you to speak. We have a lot of leaders that listen to our show, right? We attract a lot of CEOs, a lot of future leaders. Um, as I said, we were sort of in our prep phase of this conversation. I don't really want to know how much money you put in the bank when you sold two maids and a mop. We're not going to get in the weeds of the deal, um, but I'm I'm really drawn to the climb, and I love your vulnerability and what you just described, the journey of building this business and socking away money and holding yourself accountable and setting those goals. Man, that's a hell of a story, and I'm drawn to that. I want to ask you to speak right to the minds and the hearts of a lot of my listeners, and our show has done really well. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners all over the world, but I work with a group of entrepreneurs as a mentor. I serve on the mentor board, and I love it because these are young entrepreneurs. Some of them are 25 and some are 65, but they're new businesses and new ideas and innovative and creative, and I love it. But having been an entrepreneur, you certainly have been an entrepreneur, and now two successful businesses. Um, it can be very lonely, right? It can be very lonely in the tool shed, as I like to call it. And sometimes, just getting to the next day. I know that sounds really crazy, but in the life and the mind and the heart of an entrepreneur, sometimes getting to the next day, the next week, the next month is all you can do, right?
Mhm.
I'm, I want you to open your heart for a moment and talk to that young entrepreneur, again, 25 or 65, it doesn't matter, but they've launched out on this new endeavor, this new mission. Talk to that guy, that lady right now who is trying to figure out, they're trying to figure out their phone, their computer, where to park, how to get this thing going, how to call on that first customer, how to create a business. Talk to that person right now, Ron.
Sure. So beyond the nuances of what you're doing, the X's and O's, push that to the side for a minute. This is like, have fun dreaming first. Like, just have fun dreaming. It's so much real life stuff that goes on when you own a business, right? How do you pay the bills? How do you do this or whatever? And it can really bog you down. And sometimes it bogs you down so much that you forget why you did it in the first place. So dream big, figure out what you want. And no matter how big it is, or even if it's not huge, whatever that big, huge goal is, own it, believe in it. And I know that sounds very, um, um, pie in the sky. But you've got to truly believe in whatever that big goal is. And you cannot forget that you believe in it, because once you stop believing in it, everyone else is going to stop believing in it as well. And so, in my case, the first goal for Two Maids and a Mop was to build a national empire of residential cleaning franchises. My second goal is to sort of piggyback off that. Here at Pink Zebra Moving, we want to still scale the country. We want to have locations in every market across this nation, but we also want to leave behind a legacy. We want to create a whole new category within the local moving industry. And we think one day, like you said earlier, we're going to be known as the world's first happy moving company. There's going to be those old school dudes,
Yeah.
and then there's new school guys that really put on a show when you hire a moving company. And so we're right now the Lone Ranger in that space, but we think people will follow us. And so that's a huge goal. Like, it
Yeah.
sometimes even seems crazy, right? When you hear that, you're like, who are you to think you can do that? It doesn't matter. Right now, we just get to have fun dreaming,
Yeah.
and we start believing. Once you believe, all the other stuff's going to come together. It really will.
Yeah.
You can never lose that faith. If once you lose that faith, um, everything's going to start feeling like work. And so when you have those moments, when you have those valleys that you're going to go through, whatever it is, and I can name 100 things that you're going to go through. When you hit that valley, and the second valley, and the third valley, and so on, you've got to be able to look back to why you started this and still believe that what you're doing is worth it.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I promise you, the passion that you have for the work that you do, and the belief that you have for what you're trying to build, people are going to want to be a part of that, and people are going to want to put a lot of effort towards it and bring their own passion to the workplace. And then you got a team of people who believe in what you're trying to do, and all of a sudden you've got momentum. So the people that I see that succeed in business versus not succeeding, it's not necessarily one person smarter than the other one. It's not even usually money related. It's just the people that succeed never give up. And it's easy to say that, but you never give up if you believe in something. You can only lose by quitting in business. And so if you keep believing, you're going to keep working. And at some point, something good's going to happen.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
It's all real life.
well, I think it's a message that leaders and particularly entrepreneurs need to know, because and you said it, I can't add to what you just said. You will have those dark days, right? If you leave the cave and go out and kill something and you try to drag it home, you're going to have good days and bad days. And we have to be sustainable in our dreams and our goals and our mission, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're coming. You're not going to avoid those moments. You're going to make bad decisions even. You're going to have bad luck.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. So now what? What makes you get up and want to keep fighting? Everybody fights for a reason. And the one that wants to fight the hardest usually wins, and so the way I fight the hardest is just believing. And I have more passion for this brand than anybody ever will. Even though we're going to bring in a bunch of franchisees, our home office is going to continue to grow. We're going to hire great movers across the country. No one's ever going to believe more in this brand than me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, as a quick sidebar, I wish I'd have met you 6 months ago because we lost some of our stuff in a recent move, and I wish you guys were here in Charleston. But
we're getting close.
Okay, good.
We'll hope one day.
Well, you just let me know, man. Hopefully, we're staying put for a while, but we can definitely give you some business here in this thriving market.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city.
I want to pivot for just a moment with two maids and a mop, with one question that's near and dear to my heart. And then I want to ask you quickly about just kind of franchising, because you've worked through those battles. And then I want to hear some good stories, man, with Pink Zebra Moving. So my question, and this is again near and dear to me, having sold two of my own companies, not being emotionally attached to the first one, but very emotionally attached to the second one that I sold 3 years ago. Walk us through. You built two maids and a mop from 0 to almost 100 locations. And we won't get into the term sheet and the offers and the LOIs and any of that into the weeds, but capture for us the emotion of that moment, the day of close.
Yeah, I dreamed about that day as a young entrepreneur and stall boats and vacations, but
Right.
when that day finally happened, there was a lot of due diligence that led up to it. And so in the moment of the due diligence, it's just work. You're just answering this question and providing this piece of data and so on. And you kind of forget that at the end of that due diligence period, it's over. Like you've sold the business.
Right.
And so, I sold the business, and that particular day was very weirdly emotional for me. There was certainly some joy because, a life of work, had some tangible value connected to it.
Sure.
But it was my children for a long time said they had two siblings. They had their actual sibling
Mm.
and then two maids and a mop. That's who I identified as. I mean, I was the two maids and a mop guy forever. If you saw me at an industry conference, I was the two maids and a mop guy wearing the pink jacket, So um, when you sell a business, that's gone. You have to move forward in a different direction, and that isn't a lot. No, the business isn't a member of my family anymore. So my kids are young, so I don't know what the experience is when a child, moves off to college, but I guess it sort of had that feeling for me a little bit.
Sure.
But in this case, they couldn't come back home. I wouldn't go see them on campus. It was gone forever. So, I won't lie, I was very emotional that day. I went back and forth almost throughout the day to jubilation to, almost tears. But at the same time, it was something that I felt was the right time. I was what I learned about myself was that startup life, as crazy as it sounds, startup life was more fun than CEO life.
Yeah.
And I recognized that because I loved both worlds. I had to go from small business owner who cleaned a home every now and then to president of a regional business to a CEO of a national business. And when you go through all those different iterations, you have to change how you lead and make decisions. And when I look back on all of that journey, it was pretty clear to me that the happiest moments of my life when we were in the early stages, and it was us against the world. So that's why I sold the business, and that's why I went right back head first into another business right here in the home services space with Pink Zebra Moving, and
Yeah.
it's what I'm doing today. And it feels like the old days again.
Oh, that's good, man. I have the privilege of seeing you face to face, right? As we're doing this conversation, I see the zeal in your eyes. The passion is very evident, man, and I applaud that. I'm I'm a
I
big
appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to have passion when you believe in something. So it's not artificial. You don't have to, like, if we talk tomorrow, hopefully you would feel the same way because what I do is that important to me.
Yeah, that's very cool. I do want to ask you very quickly, and I feel like we could have a whole conversation on franchising. Um, a lot of us really don't understand. I never did that in my two companies. A lot of us don't understand franchising. I've heard horror stories. I've heard great success stories. But give us a 20,000 foot flyover of franchising. Do we do it? Do we consider it? Do we run from it? Encapsulate
So
to it.
there are, I call there are two different types of business owners in this world. There are the entrepreneurs, really, that's me. And then there's franchise owners. And you could probably make a case for gig economy or something like that. For the sake of this conversation, franchise owners and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are kind of okay with startup pains. They are okay with the struggle. They're okay being by themselves. They're okay with a little bit of their future being a mystery and an unknown. Um, that's weirdly fun to them. You know?
Hmm.
Franchisees want to own their day too. They want to have financial freedom. They want to have flexibility in their day and schedules, and they want to be able to build value in something that can return, money back to their family at some point. But they don't necessarily like the idea of going through those startup pains and not knowing exactly what the future holds or how to do something, like how to try to figure this out. They want somebody else to kind of tell them to do that. Now, to do that means you got to pay up, you got to pay for that coaching. You got to pay for those systems and processes. That's where franchising comes into play. That's who we are as a franchisor. At the end of the day, a great franchisor is a great teacher, a great, training and support mechanism. And that's what we do. We teach people how to get to grand opening. We set them up with strong vendors. We set them up with tools, technology, and then our own internal team provides business coaching and direction. And we do everything from making sure you're upholding the brand standards to overseeing, your marketing spend and strategy to helping you learn how to move. This industry is very blue collar, and so most of our franchisees are white collar. and they don't know the difference between this